Hey everybody, this is Craig Cottle, Director of Nature Reliance School. We are very pleased and fortunate to be part of the outdoor arena now. So on occasion, we're going to get some very cool gear, particularly knives, and we're going to do a gauntlet review with several other reviewers. Today, what I have access to is the Gary Wines designed Bushcrafter from Wright knives. So I'm going to be taking a look at it from my perspective, and you need to join in on the other guys so you can get a real broad brush stroke of all the things that this blade can do. Well, I know that a lot of you out there are seeing Nature Reliance School and myself for the first time. For those that have been following us, it's pretty evident we're big fans of LT Wright knives. The fellas at LT Wright have been incredibly kind to us, particularly when we first started writing for Self-Reliance Illustrated and all that good stuff back in the day. Mikey Henniger is one of those guys that's on social media aggravating the snot out of me on a regular basis. You know what I mean if you know who Mikey is. With that said, this is the first time I had laid hands on a Gary Wines Bushcrafter. Gary Wines designed this knife, and after a long career in the British military. It's a fantastic blade. I've had a lot of fun playing with it. There's some things that you can do with this style of blade that you can't do with other bushcrafting blades. I'm going to try to point those out to you. The first thing I want to do is just go over the specs. This blade is made out of 01 tool steel. I've been discussing this steel with a number of makers in the last few months, and it seems like it's becoming incredibly popular, and for good reason. It's incredibly durable, and it's going to be a knife that you can hand down through the generations. One of the things that really jumped out at me when I got my hands on this blade was the fact that the spine is sharpened, which is going to make it incredibly easy for you to strike a ferrule rod, tear up some sticks for tinder, or any number of tasks that you might use it for scraping. These blades come with a leather sheath. One of the first things I would do when you get these sheaths is to heat them up, moisten them so that they are formed a little bit tighter to the actual blade that you stick in them, because they're made for standardization, and that's good. That keeps them very affordable. However, I like to keep my knife a little bit tighter, so I would again moisten up the leather and heat it up so that I can form it directly around the knife and make for a tighter fit. I'm not going to do that for this particular leather sheath because I want to pass it on to the other guys and see what their feeling is on it. It also comes with a loop that you can hang on your belt, as well as a dangler. The dangler is another feature that a lot of people really like that I am not necessarily a fan of, and that's the beauty of this particular sheath. You can easily take the dangler off if you don't want it on there, or you can easily keep it on there if you want to have it for your use. It has 3 eyelets on it so that you can attach any number of things through paracord or any other cordage that you might want to utilize on the sheath itself. I'm going to start doing my knife reviews just a little bit different, and I hope it provides both a good look at these blades as well as some education for people that are new. With that said, let's say that we're going to scrape some branches. It's pretty simple, right? But one of the things that I like to point out is, can you find these dead branches on a tree where it's still on there, you know it's dead, and you don't have to use both hands to do whatever you need to do? Because normally I'd have to use one hand to scrape, one hand to scrape and one hand to hold the branch. But if I find one that's on the tree, or I can plant one in the ground, like push it in the ground and hold it with my body, I can do this with one hand. The reason I want to do this is because, particularly for survival, and I'm not catching this material, but particularly for survival, if I wanted to, I need to be prepared so that I can utilize this with one hand. Let's say the other hand's injured. So practicing with your blade, whether you drive that into a tree or drive it in the ground because your arm's broken, just practice while you're doing this with one hand. You'll run into problems like I just did, and you can figure out what works for you so you can make it work even when you're injured. So again, let's take a look at a couple of different ways that we can develop some feather pieces. I'm not going to make an actual feather stick. Quite frankly, I'm not a big fan of feather sticks. I think it's just one of those bushcrafting hobby things that people use as a penis measuring stick, and basically they say, ooh, look, I can make the greatest feather stick. I'm not a big fan of it. With that said, I want to be able to capture this stuff as best I can. Let's go back with this theme that I only have one arm that I can utilize. Maybe I can stick this into the base of a tree, secure it with my elbow, get my knife out, and then I can continue to make some really good shavings for starting a fire. Okay, another option would be to turn my body at a different angle, stick it in that same tree, lock it down with my leg. Let's say I'm totally injured in my shoulder, and I'm basically sitting on the stick while I make feather pieces. Again, these are not perfect. That's because I'm injured and I don't have real good access with both hands. So with that said, that's a couple considerations to show you. Number one, the knife works fantastic. It's sharp as a razor, and I don't know if, I think it was Leo that sent this to me. I don't think Leo sharpened this before he sent it to me after he used it, but this thing is cutting like a champ. The other thing I want to point out is that it's still doing such a good job, and it's holding up. You see no dings or anything in the blade, and I'm real pleased with how it's feathering this material. So this is a good find. What we have here is a good cedar tree, and we all know that cedar trees are one of the best choices to get fire tinder. In essence, what you want to do, and this is why this blade comes into great play, is you can sit here and pull this off and you'll get it. It'll take a while. I'm saying if you don't have a blade, go ahead and do that. However, if you take an opportunity to use the sharp spine of this Gary Wines Bushcrafter, it's going to come off a lot faster. Now, the key is, and I've already scraped this down so you can see this, if I start getting into this tree and it starts getting excessively white, we're getting to the point where we could injure that tree. In a true survival situation, it doesn't matter. From bushcrafting, training, just woodsmanship, take care of the environment as best you can. So I don't want to go any farther than I have to get what I'm getting. Now again, the reason we're doing this is that I can make it a lot easier just by cutting a big sliver with the blade itself, because again, it's sharp as a razor. But once I do that, I've used my blade for a use that I really did not have to do. In essence, I'm using the blade when I could be using the spine. So I want to use the spine of this knife. Again, it's designed to do this. It's very sharp, 90-degree angle. Use it so you don't have to waste the sharpness of your blade to get some of these small tasks done. One of the things that comes up when you're out and you're looking at harvesting trees, from my perspective, is you want to make sure that you're not endangering the forest. So I'm in a spot where I see a large amount of tulip poplar. Tulip poplar in this particular case is green, but I want to utilize this green specimen to demonstrate something that this blade can do that a lot of other blades can't do. With that said, let's go ahead and cut this guy off. All I'm going to do that is go all the way around this tree, and simple gravity and weight will take care of most of it. Now, one of the things a lot of people do is what I was getting ready to do, is they cut something, they get excited, they're getting ready to be done, and then they start doing something with their hands. So go ahead and put that knife away and break it off. And we're going to take this over to the cabin. I'm going to show you what I mean by what this blade can do that others can't. What I'm talking about is, because we have the style of point that we do, we're going to be able to dig in and make basically a mortise with this blade style. When you have the larger, fatter blade points, it's difficult to do that. So one of the first things we're going to do is we're going to clean this poplar stick up, and we're going to do a little time lapse so that you can see the whole process of this going down. I'll show you what I mean. But I know you like your coffee. So let's cut this bad boy so that we can make a coffee hanger, pot hanger. In essence, I'm going to cut a V-notch here and a V-notch here, and we'll have us a hanger. So we'll put that on time lapse too so you can see it. Hey! The obvious consideration is, can we make fire with ferro rods or what have you with the spine? So I want to demonstrate that. These are some ferro rods that we have started selling on our school at Nature Reliance, or on our store at Nature Reliance School. But I've got some mixture of jute as well as some tinder from the cedar tree that we just scraped up here that I have mixed up. One of the things that you can do is pull this stuff apart. This is, you can see some of the twine that's mixed in there. Pull this stuff apart with a spine, break that up really well. I took the time to do that with this cedar and jute, and just do that over and over. Just tear it up. You can put this on a rock. You can put this with the spine of this blade, this Gary Wines knife, and it's going to work exceptionally well. And we take our ferro, put it down in there, get a lot of sparks, and then we got flame like real quick. So that's some cedar tinder. Let's take a look at some modern tinder as well. This is fast fire. This stuff is the bomb when it comes to fire building in the rain, because it works even when it's wet. So let's break off a piece of it. We can use the spine. Again, I'm just trying to accent some skills that we can do using this very sharp spine on this Gary Wines Bushcrafter. It's a fantastic blade. And we've got the fast fire going too. Actually, if I'd put the ferro rod down in it, would have got...
Your shirt's about to catch on fire.
So, actually, if I had put the ferro rod down on the fast fire, it would have got going a lot better, a lot quicker. But you can see how easy it is to make both sparks with a good ferro and having this sharp spine. That's vital. That's vital. If you want to scrape off some magnesium, this is another time when having a sharp spine is available to you, and very, very important. A lot of people have trouble getting that, and you'll see some beginners, I have them in classes all the time, that want to use their sharp side of their blade. We got a lot of good magnesium right there real quick, and helps extend that tinder real easy like, so that you can get that fire when it's wet, damp, or whatever might be going on. So I didn't baton any wood, because a knife like this, it's just so obvious that you're going to baton the crap out of any type of wood that you want to. Just take your time in the process of batoning and you'll be fine with it. This blade is fantastic. I have not received or utilized, I've got about 5 different LT Wright knives now. I haven't had a single one that had any sort of issue with it all. It would surprise me, now that I've got this Gary Wines design blade, for it to have failed in any way, and it didn't. It carried through. Very pleased with that. Again, Scandy Grind 01 tool steel, fantastic blade. For the first time, this is one of our reviews for the outdoor arena. We appreciate the opportunity to work with the outdoor arena and all the fine guys that'll be doing another review of this knife itself. I'm sure you'll see a lot of different looks. One of the things I haven't talked about is the feel of the handle. It fits my hand very well. I've got a fairly muscular hand from farm work and judo for 20 plus years. One of the things that sets this knife apart is the pommel, or the back end of it is not necessarily rounded like a lot of knives, which makes it real good when you're doing that, developing that tongue and groove or mortise or whatever it might be on a stick. You can push in with flat and your hand doesn't slide off or anything of that nature, and it's really comfortable. It's rounded just enough and squared off just enough to be an incredibly comfortable blade and handle in your hand. So with that said, again, thanks for letting me be part of the outdoor arena. This is Craig Cottle with the Nature Reliance School out of Central Kentucky. As always with Nature Reliance School, come on, join in, and let's learn together.